Hello, everybody. Saturdays have come again. It's been a hot minute.
It has. I feel like, well, I mean, Saturdays have been here. We just haven't been here on those Saturdays.
But really, we make Saturdays happen, Greg.
Right. Like, does Saturday really happen if Drinks and Movies doesn't happen? Like,
I know, right? So everybody can be happy now. We're back, and here's the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinks and Movies with your hosts, Bearded Comic Bro and John from John's Comics with Kids. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for Drinks and Movies.
love it. Never gets old.
It's no Robert G. Spot style. He's the king of some intro clip video stuff, man. I got to keep working on it. But
Hey.
Robert, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. We're talking musicals tonight, people, and I will legitimately say this might end up being one of the least watched videos on my channel.
Yeah, probably. And it's okay.
But I'm totally okay with that because I do truly love musicals, theater musicals, movie musicals, television musical episodes, all that. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see, because I feel like every time we've talked about it, because we've been saying like, oh, we should do musical movies, a couple different, like for a couple months. And I feel like there was always people in the chat like, yeah. But now I'm kind of like, all right, let's see where our comic people are.
We're going to test that, right? See how far we can really push this concept.
Right.
So before we say hello to the chat, let's talk about what we're drinking tonight, man. What's on the menu for the beer?
Man, I'm excited. My first beer of 2021. So I'm doing a Valkyrie Hero. It's from Revolution Brewing. It is a hazy rye IPA.
Hazy. What makes it hazy? Hazy rye.
Who knows? Well, when I pour it, we'll see if it's hazy and why and what.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, maybe it's like a darker color. Yeah.
I got a bourbon. It's called Whiskey War, which is from High Banks Distillery. It's a distillery here in Columbus, Ohio, and as the nightcap. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for drinks and movies.
You're rocking and rolling there, man.
I'm ready.
I'm doing just basic Jameson. That's the family label here. I had been good all week, hadn't really had anything, and then of course last night for the unboxing, got a little raw, and just trying to hair the dog here today.
Yeah, I get it. I've been good in 2021, and I'm like I gotta just save it for drinks and movies, and then when I do my Sunday night where I do my typical perfect pairing post, I'm like, I'll save it for Saturdays and Sundays. I was like, I don't need to keep drinking on Lamer Frame on Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Yeah, this is my only drinking show that I do, and so I try to save up for this one.
Right.
But hey, you don't do a CGC unboxing every day, so that had to have a little something special.
Yes, that's so true. So true.
So we had first in the chat, Mr. Coach Vic, man. Thank you so much for coming by, sir.
Always supporting.
And of course, Robert, the G-Spot Galvin, was here, and he's got some great weekend shows as well. You got to definitely check in with Robert. If you have not subscribed to his channel, you're missing out on some great stuff. We got Simon R. Hello to you.
What's up, Simon?
We got TJ saying it's showtime.
It is.
Sharon says, My Fair Lady, Greatest Showman, Camelot. She's throwing them out. She's throwing out the big guns right off the bat.
Right?
Simon R. saying, Guys and Dolls. Look, you guys know your movies. I'm happy to hear this.
Yes. We'll just see if we're happy with our picks.
Right? Exactly. Hello to Burning Block. Cade is here, and he just dropped a new video today that my girls were laughing all the way through. I'm sorry we haven't left comments yet, but they really enjoyed your new video, brother. So shout out to Cade. So yes, I guess you want to try to explain how we broke this down into our 2 nights.
Yeah, so we kind of made this decision. We want to just try to focus on our drinks and movies to kind of be 2 nights a month, just the 2 Saturdays a month, just with everything going on. And in the process of that, we wanted to break down our first night. We're talking our favorite movie musicals. I think we broke our rules a little bit a couple times here. But mostly the idea for this is we didn't put in anything that was like a documentary musical, like a Walk the Line or a
Buena Vista Social Club,
right? Or Rocket Man or Bohemian Rhapsody. Like
no musical biopics.
Yeah, no biopics. That's what I was looking for. And so for this episode, we decided we wanted to pick our favorite movie musicals, and then next week we're doing more family friendly, or not next week, but next show. And so I think in 2 weeks, family friendly movie musicals, as well as our favorite category. Is it a musical?
Who knows, right?
So some of those that you might be naming right there, if it's family friendly, chances are, not saying that this list isn't, but the ones that we're putting on our family friendly are more geared towards kids and everything.
Yeah, because I made the argument that some of my all-time favorite musicals are, Disney related animated musicals.
Right.
And we wanted to basically separate that out and keep that into a family friendly night. I didn't want to worry about Tangled or Moana invading this list. So tonight we're eschewing the animated, and we're going with more traditional musical formats.
Right. And the family friendly can be animated. It can be live action next week and stuff. So, and I know some that I've already seen in the chat, like we'll be definitely probably be talking about next week.
For sure.
But I think that's going to be an exciting one because it's going to just be a blast of nostalgia, I think, for a lot.
Bonkers, yeah.
And I love Life with Two YouTubers comment, Paint Your Wagon, because I've never actually seen that musical.
I have seen that, yeah.
But I can only, every time I might be the only person, every time I hear Paint Your Wagon, I think of the Smothers Brothers skit. I don't know if
I don't, but I can imagine what they would do with that.
They just it's this whole spiel about paint your wagon. Sounds like a stupid the guy runs off talking to the trees. What just making fun of him, he's knocking on the stage, hey there, stage, used to be a tree, didn't you? My friend over here talking, just ridiculing it, and it's hilarious. So every time I hear Paint Your Wagon, I'm like, Smothers Brothers.
Family films like Shitty Gangbang. I actually changed the end of it for you there, TJ, just to make it a little bit worse than the one you posted. Yeah, there's lots of great talk going on in the chat. Lots of good movies being thrown out. I know that we're going to have some discussions about that one in particular next show, but it is obviously worthy of a lot of discussion. The chat lively with some good movies tonight already.
Yes.
I love it. So cheers to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we dive in too deep, I was actually going to, certainly say hello to Perry, but then I was going to ask how you first found or got into musicals in general, just a little background, because I think it's an odd thing for people in our community to have a lot of affinity for.
So I grew up with an older sister. So she was 4 years older than me. I had an older brother too, but she was heavy into the theater and department at school. And so as a kid, I was forced to go to all the plays, all the musicals, and she wasn't. And the thing that always made me mad as a kid was she wasn't in the plays. She was into the set design and she was behind the scenes. So I'm like, why do I have to go see it? Show me a picture of the set. Yeah. I'm good. Why do I have to go watch the set? She's not there.
Right. Give me the backstage tour.
And so, but through that, then in high school, she did that in college. She then went out to DC and was working at the Roundhouse Theater out there and doing musicals and plays. So whenever I go out and visit, I would always just go see. And then she was out at LA doing set design and prop stuff, or doing stuff like with Oscar, like, so just doing everything and anything with set design and things like that. And so because of that, by default, I would always play it off like I didn't like musicals, and I just started secretly like, because I was the jock in college and high school. And I was like, I wrestled. I was like,
was there a musical that like really changed your mind on it, where we're like, oh, maybe this isn't so lame?
So when so there was probably a lot that I enjoyed when I saw the stuff in high school and college that my sister worked on a lot. But when I was in college, my junior year, I did a month study abroad over in Scotland and England. And one of the days we were downtown, we were scheduled to go see Les Mis on London's Broadway, kind of. I forget what they call it there. And so that was my first like big theater thing. Like, I've always saw stuff in Columbus, here when the stuff would come through, but that was my first exposure. And from then on, I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah. I think, because for me, the thing that I always try to tell people when it's like, it's the same thing I tell people when they tell me, you like comic books? I try to just be like, it's just an art form. There's going to be some you like, and there's going to be some you don't. And when you find one that you appreciate, you're going to realize a whole like avenue has now been opened for you that wasn't there before. And giving somebody the chance to read like Saga, or giving somebody a chance to read Descender, is the same as taking somebody for the first time to go see Les Mis or whatever. And that experience is mind altering. It expands your understanding of what you might enjoy in life. So I'm always glad to hear that happening for people.
Yeah. And I mean, and I've been hooked, like, and I think you're seeing that more and more with, the West End. TJ always bringing it.
TJ knows it. Air Spider is here. What is up, my man? Thanks for coming.
Well, and I think you're seeing that more and more nowadays too, with stuff like Hamilton, or more where they're actually even Les Mis. That
the film version of Les Mis. Yeah,
they're making them more. I mean, how many times in the '90s were they making musicals that weren't musicals, like Les Mis? Because they're like, people want to watch musicals, and I think like you're seeing that shift a little bit more.
Well, and so for me, I had a really phenomenal AV theater teacher in high school. In fact, he was the highest paid high school teacher in the state. He was just an amazing teacher, and had an incredibly rich theater program. And I was in the AV department, and I would shoot the videos for all of his performances. And eventually it was a thing where he was like, we need more guys in these shows. Like, we need more men in these shows. And so he gave everybody in the AV program a straight A, basically, just for auditioning for any of his musicals. And then he put them all in the show because he needed them. So it was not even like a thing. Like, you'll find a spot for you. So I did Bye Bye Birdie, and I did MAME in high school, and along with other plays and stuff. And I just got really into it. I was really enjoying it. It was fun. And of course, the ratio of girls to boys was always phenomenal for meeting awesome girls. And so, I just, for whatever reason, it just clicked for me. And it happened in high school, and I was like, now I'm in, I dig this. So to this day, it's always been something I've really enjoyed. My wife likes musicals as well. She saw me in those shows when she's like 6 years older than me. She saw me because we were all in the same small town. So it just became a connective tissue kind of thing for us.
That's awesome. I think you see that, like, my wife wasn't ever really into musicals. Not like, she just never was exposed to them. And bam. I was like, we should go to a musical. Like, let's do it and I took her. First one I ever took her to was Book of Mormon.
Great show.
Because I knew it was gonna just be fun. Like, I knew she would enjoy it, and we had a blast. And we bought season tickets, and we were season ticket holders at our here. And
that's awesome.
So it's easy to hook people, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's like anything, any art form. You may not think you like photography or painting or whatever, and then you see somebody do it in a way that speaks to you, and you're done. You're in. You just have to find that artist, writer, musician, whatever that speaks to you, and then you're done. It's in. So let's talk. Let's roll into this. I feel like we've been wasting a lot of time here. TJ says, "My love for music started in high school. We performed 1 year in a choir and watched the movie first. Man of La Mancha, great musical. I remember my first experience with Man of La Mancha. I was a big Quantum Leap TV show fan, and there was an episode where he jumped into an actor who was in a show with his drama teacher, Scott Bakula's character's drama teacher, and he was doing Man of La Mancha, and he was great. It was a great show. Watching John talk about stage, painting a picture of the toxin symbiote with my 5-year-old daughter. I feel so cultured right now. There you go. Look at that. Phantom of the Opera going on here. I love it. You guys are amazing. What a great
It's like
show.
when I was sending you pictures, I was like, I'm building my Legos watching musicals this week.
Yeah, and Kate and I and my wife were all watching one of the movies that we're going to talk about at the end of our list tonight. We were enjoying it because it was a super short one, so we could watch the whole thing and have a good time. Hello, Ohana. Good to see you. I tried to find Quantum Leap for the kids. You got to just buy the discs, I think, at this point. I don't know that it's on anywhere streaming. All right. So we've got a little slideshow that Greg has put together, poured his heart and soul into. And we're going to run through, I think, is it 10? Did we agree on 10?
I think we agreed on 10 because we're trying to keep it at that hour and a half, hour 45.
We'll see where we go.
Who knows? We like to talk, and it's been a while. So
It has been a while, I know. And I've watched so many musicals.
Right?
Amazing. Okay, so here we go. And these are in no particular order, but just some movies we can talk about. And the chat has raised this one a ton. I know Coach Vic is going to be jumping out of his seat, screaming and shouting. I will quote my mom, who is a big theater buff and read the book that this was based on. And she said, clearly, Lin-Manuel, when he wrote this, was being touched by something not of this world. I mean, he was just whatever you want to call talent, whatever you want to call like genius, he was having it when he wrote this. It is this entire production, top to bottom, is on another plane.
yeah. I love how Coach Vic said, if you're breaking rules, Hamilton better make the list. This is one of our rule breaks.
Absolutely.
Because of this, because it really isn't technically a musical movie. But it is, what's so cool about it is it's like 3 versions of this combined into one. So they did it where they did it with a live audience. They did it where there wasn't a live audience. And there was something else where they just did some cuts or something, and they spliced it together. And if you didn't know that, you would never realize that it was not a one take, which I think is awesome. So I put that as movie editing skills that we let it slip into it's a movie musical because.
And I will say my girls figured it out on our second time watching it, because there's a wardrobe gaffe with the ladies' dresses. Where they're wearing flowers when they did it without the audience, and they're not wearing those flowers when they had an audience. So if you watch, the flowers appear, disappear, like all through a couple of the songs with the ladies. And then that became their big obsession, was trying to figure out which take it was, right? Yeah, go ahead and tell us a little about your thoughts for this show.
I think this is one of those that it was out as a musical for years, and there was a hype and everyone's trying to go see. I mean, this was a reason that I was able to convince my wife to buy season tickets to our theater for the year, because if we got season tickets, we were guaranteed to get to see Hamilton, which was sellout. And like, after, we saw musicals, like we had to go see this. And what I think is so beautiful about it from my aspect is you have the stages, and it's such a simple stage. It's nothing crazy, But they utilize it well. They utilize the circular moving floor well. They utilize the upper tier space. And I think that's just really cool to see. And honestly, I think some of the best parts still in the musical are where they're not rapping, which makes it show you like that it's not just a gimmick to me of like, oh, it's only good because it's the rapping. As someone who likes rap, it's really not that great.
Well, I think what they do that's better than just making this an entire rap or hip hop production is they use the language of music to identify characteristics in certain characters. I am particularly impressed with what they do for Aaron Burr and the fact that he doesn't really do the rapping and the hip hop that the other characters do. Sometimes he does like classic show tune styles. Other times he's got a jazz kind of style to him. They do a ton with the language of music to identify personalities of characters. And I think it's just beautiful. Yeah. And I'm sorry that you didn't like it, Ohana. I know that it's, of course, not everything's going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get super weepy in certain portions of this, like Rena saying, it's very sad. But there's other bits of our nation's history that are so powerfully rendered. Absolutely incredible. And of course, like we say in comics a lot, you can't really look at a golden age comic through the lens of 2020 without being able to understand that, like, yeah, that was a certain time and place.
Right.
What's amazing about Hamilton is they are able to blend those two things together. So they give you the historical perspective, and then the fact that their actors are all being played by actors of minority ethnicities adds this layer to it where the characters can comment on the flaws of the founding fathers while also being able to champion the things they got right. And, you get to see discussions of slavery. You get to see discussions of the role of women at the time. The women all say, going to put women in the sequel, like that, which is a comment on what Jefferson had written in those early documents defining our nation. I think there's some really beautiful layering of perspective.
Yeah. And you have that, but you also have, I think what's so, for me is you see the character growth and development too of Alexander so well, I think, in this, which I think is a part of good storytelling, because if you look at, if you've read the book, I got all on the Hamilton hype train. I downloaded the book. I'm like, I'm going to read this book. 2 chapters in, I'm like, this is thick. Like, it's a dense read. And so I still want to power through it at some point. But
yeah, I've tried it. It's tough. I will say, Rena, I totally agree that there are some heavy emotions going on here. And King George is very funny. But then I also clicked on this, I noticed from you. I can't bring myself to watch it. So wait a second. How are you going to explain the whole plot to your mom if you've never seen it? I have some questions on that whole theory, because now your mom's like, I'm never going to watch it either because Rena told me what it's all about, and neither one of you've seen it. So I'm just saying, at least, take some advice from people who've actually seen it or something. I don't want you to judge it without having seen it. Mm-hmm. Emotionally, yeah, there's some sad points, but there's also some very important, powerful, intelligent, funny, romantic. It's got everything. It's got all of it. So Superior Hero Reviews is here. We should roll on to the next one. What do you say?
Before we go, though, I got to ask, how many times did you watch it when it came out on Disney Plus the first month?
It was at least once a week.
Okay. That's why I didn't want to say just the first week, because I felt like it had to be.
I've also seen it in the traveling show, and my girls and I, before I saw the traveling show, I had memorized all the songs. We had been listening to it for months before the traveling show even came around. So
same. I did that too, because I was like, everyone told me that saw it. They're like, familiarize yourself with the songs because you'll understand it a lot.
Right.
Where there are some musicals where I always ask more experienced people, like, should I listen to it first? Like, no, don't. Like, you don't want to be. But
I will say, Ohana, what I liked about rap as representing the time period was the whole idea that rap music in general is something of a revolutionary act in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at, how rap has figured into African-American culture, I think they were trying to use it as a way to represent how these gentlemen, these founding fathers, were definitely fringe and definitely out there. Guys like Hamilton, Lafayette, these guys were definitely fringe and not mainstream in any way.
Mm-hmm.
The soundtrack was listened to without seeing the show. Absolutely. Let's move on. We want to get, we got 9 more. What? Of course. This is one of the first ones I showed my daughters when it came to studying up for this, because it's iconic. They both fell in love with Donald O'Connor and his Make 'Em Laugh. Make 'Em Laugh is my favorite part of this musical. It's hilarious. O'Connor's physicality is just wild. And he's not even the best dancer in this movie. So many great layers to this. And on top of all of the music, for me, what I love is the Hollywood history stuff, which I think is very fascinating. The transition from silent films to talkies was beautifully captured here. Great, absolutely great movie. And it's on HBO Max. So those of you that signed up and watched Wonder Woman can also enjoy this.
Yep. And this was one of those that I was familiar with, being a musical fan. I don't know if I'd actually sat through and watched it all before this week. I knew the songs. I knew Make 'Em Laugh. I knew Singing in the Rain. Going to Disney World as a kid or MGM Studios and seeing the tour of stuff, they had this, and it is classic. But I do agree with what you said. The parts where they're talking about how they transition from silent films to the talkies, that was such a cool way, and how they utilize this is garbage. Let's make it into a musical. And I just love that kind of almost tongue in cheek of, we have a musical inside of a musical, that I just thought was a really well done story for sure.
Patrick Wall, Gene Kelly, he was a champ, but still trash. Did I mention I didn't like music? I don't like musicals. You're gonna be very entertaining to us tonight. I'm just gonna tell you right now. But I so appreciate that you're actually chilling and hanging with us for this. Rena saying she saw the movie The Intern, where they show the ladder sequence in that movie, and so she has just seen that little moment the other day. Yeah. So my girls loved it. They thought it was hilarious. They did get a little what about the ending sequence where he's describing this abstract dancing, bit, which is far more akin to his movie American in Paris. But it's still such a beautifully done sequence visually, and the movements, the dance, so incredible.
Yeah, the overall production of it all, piecing together, that scene, the Singing in the Rain scene, the physical comedy aspect of Make 'Em Laugh, that it all just meshed so well together.
TJ's I'm so sick of hearing that song, Singing in the Rain. For me, it's about Make 'Em Laugh and Good Morning, Good Morning. Those are the ones. Those are the songs that stick with me longer than the actual title track. I always wake up my girls, sometimes when they're being all tired and lazy, I start just singing that Good Morning.
And I think that's what we were talking about, the idea of giving musicals a chance. There are probably many people who, whether it's this one or another one that we'll talk about, where they have heard these songs before because they're so prevalent in pop culture that they're familiar with it. And it's oh wait, this is what it's from, because I'm someone who likes musicals, and I'm even still going, oh yeah, this is what this is from. Oh yeah, this song's from this. And that happened so much these past 2 weeks watching these, of going, oh yeah, I forgot this is where this came from.
Yeah, so I watched the movie Top Hat for this. And for those that don't know, that's considered to be the Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers classic film. The one that is, I guess, kind of most known that they're most known for. And there were definitely songs in there that I was like, oh, I didn't realize that came from this movie. I'm putting on my top hat, dressing up my tails, right? And dancing cheek to cheek. We're dancing cheek to cheek. I didn't realize all that stuff came from this one movie. And so we were watching it, and I, of course, was just mesmerized by the dancing, which is so good. But again, I caught myself going, I didn't realize that came from this musical, right?
Oh, man.
TJ was making a Clockwork reference. Yeah. Oh, I get you. Yeah. Sorry. I have issue. Clockwork Orange still scars me. Like, I can't handle that movie. As long as I have musical mode, get in the chopper. Yeah. Arnold's Get in the Chopper would be a beautiful.
Be careful what you ask for, because that might happen someday. So Patrick, we talked about right beforehand, in our next episode, 2 weeks, we're going to be doing family friendlies. We're animated movies. So Disney, any more kid based as well as then Disney musical are going to be talked about that week. So if you are wanting the Disney nostalgia feels,
get ready, buckle up.
We'll bring them to you.
Yeah, this is more the adult stuff, which brings us to the next pick. I will say the first time I saw this, I was like, I hate this movie. I was like traumatized. I hate this movie. Tim Curry freaked me out. Like, I had nightmares about Tim Curry for a couple of weeks. You know, it's between this and It, I can't decide what was more traumatizing the first time I saw Tim Curry in these movies. But as I got older, I mean, the first time I saw it, I was probably in junior high or whatever. And then as I got older and saw it, I went to one of those theater versions where people just went nuts for it. I've been to one of those. And it is absolutely a hilarious classic.
So this is a newer, within the last couple of years.
The first time you saw this was in the last couple of years?
Yeah. And it was because Barry Bostwick and Patricia Quinn have been doing a lot of the Comic-Con scenes in the Midwest here, at least. So it was one of those, I'm like, you know what? I got to see it at some point. And I watched it the first time and I'm like, this is strange, but I like it. Like, it was like,
you're saying you were ready to do the time warp again.
I did. I think I watched it again later the next week because I got to revisit this again. And I can only imagine what my wife was thinking, as I'm sure she heard as she's upstairs working and I'm downstairs working with this in the background when like the Susan Sarandon song comes on.
When they're the sweet transvestite.
I just like, because if you don't or not, even if you're watching it, I feel like you're going, what? But if you're just like casually listening.
Yeah, it honestly feels like one of those movies where they just tried to like throw as many things up on the screen to like offend people as possible. And I almost love it more for that. Like, let's just be as wild and offensive as we can.
Yeah, I've not gotten to do one of those theater experiences, but I want to so much.
Yeah, I mean, this was an early Susan Sarandon, and I had a huge, and probably still do have a huge Susan Sarandon crush. Between this and Bull Durham, I was all in on Susan Sarandon. And if it weren't for Tim Curry scarring me on my first viewing, I probably would have fallen in love with the movie right from the start. But now I can look at Tim Curry and I'm just like, this guy, I mean, I guess for a transvestite, had some serious balls. Like to man up and do this part in this movie and just go for it the way he goes for it. Wow. Just wow.
Yeah, and it's just as, yeah, I haven't seen it, and I want to see it that way because I know I haven't fully experienced it. So
I want to go now. I want to go with you at some point. We should like go together.
When all this goes away, we'll find one in LA. We'll fly out to LA and we'll do it.
They said Tim Curry as the Joker dressed in Rocky Horror Picture costume. That's hilarious.
I always love to how people say you can find out when you were born because of who you recognize Tim Curry from what movie, like the Rocky Horror or
Clue or Legend. He was always the demon in Legend with Tom Cruise.
My first remembrance of Tim Curry was, and I'm like, Three Musketeers.
Oh wow!
With Oliver Platt.
The Charlie Sheen one.
Kiefer Sutherland. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Boom. See, Patrick Wall knows Legend.
Yep.
Yeah, his voice will always remind me of the monster from Legend, the devil from Legend. So good, so good. But then, but I found this role far scarier and more drama. Something about it. That first viewing, I was like, this guy's freaking the crap out of me. But later, I could laugh my butt off to it. I just thought this was hilarious. Yo, Z, I'm sorry I wasn't there for your for the game show tonight. In a box, you guys are hilarious. But I was just too many things going on, my man. But big fan of that show. Hunt for Red October. Yeah, he's in Hunt for Red October. There you go.
And again, I think we haven't even, we really haven't even talked about like what it deals with as a movie and the topics and the subject matter. Like I think that's what just is so unique to it too. Alongside with the music and what it brings to the show, because again, this is another one. If you haven't seen Rocky Horror, guarantee you've been to a Halloween party and you've heard Time Warp. Like musicals penetrate through the culture more than most people understand and realize, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I'm making a little banner for us because people are saying, "What's up, group?" And we're doing movie musicals, gang. And so I was just throwing a little banner up here. Yeah, we're talking about our favorite movie musicals, those ones that are more adult friendly, less kid animated friendly tonight. We're going to run through 10, and we've already done 3. We're on Rocky Horror Picture Show.
So you're saying this was not a family viewing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I showed this one to my daughters this round. But I did show them a bunch of the ones on this list, but not this one. We skipped this one. They were a little concerned about one of the later picks we've got, though. Which had a horror vibe to it as well.
Oh, yes. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Tim Curry is awesome. I agree.
That he is.
Hello, Newbie is in here, and I said hello to Roscoe, and I said hello to Z. You guys are all awesome. Came to see the She-Hulk giving away. I'm not giving away no She-Hulk. But on Monday, I am selling some sensational She-Hulk issues. I think 2 through 7 or something. But you've already got all those. You don't need any of those. All right. So anything more you wanted to say about the risque levels of Rocky Horror?
Not now that I hear that we're at 3 movies and we got.
Yeah, we got to move a little bit. So my high school performed this, and this was one of the first productions I video recorded and I watched every night, and I just absolutely was over the moon. Now, I liked the cast that were my high school friends, and watching them play this, I thought was hilarious. I rewatched it with my daughters and realized how really inappropriate there are so many things in here. I was like, don't just ignore that. Oh, no. They're in the back of the car fooling around and they say it broke. And I'm like, what broke? Don't tell them what broke. Just keep roll through that bit.
Just move it along.
Right. Just moving it along. But it's hard to deny the chemistry of the leads, the catchiness of the songs, and that finale is fire.
Yeah. And this is one I think too that everyone is familiar with when you're talking musicals. This is one that every high school's done. This, it feels like, which is always interesting too. Like when you watch some of these musicals going like, high schools did this one. All right. This one, but
my high school did this one.
Well, but I'm not as there's some other ones where I'm like, that's interesting. You guys do that, but
yeah. We didn't do Rent or anything, but we did.
Right. I think this is just, your classic, they break out into that summer loving song. Like, so much, right off the bat, you're like, yep, it takes you back to that world instantly.
Yeah. It's really good, but totally, not a family movie at all. TJ says, remember that Tim Curry suffered a stroke, so we all got to keep a little love in our hearts for him. Hope he gets better.
Yep.
But yeah, for sure. Friends don't let friends watch Grease 2. And that's fair. Greased Lightning. What a great song, though, right? Greased Lightning. I love that song. The dance, great. And yeah, and again, I the finale for me, it's always the finale. Every layer of the finale is nailed. It's so good.
This is one that I respect. I don't love as much.
It's funny because there's one that's coming up later that I feel like we flip on. So that's nice.
Good. Because I started watching this last night just because I was like, I'm like, I know what it is. And I stopped it and I rewatched one of them that we'll talk about here later for a second time this week because it's so freaking good.
So I've seen this in the theater too. I had a girlfriend in high school who was obsessed with this musical, and they were doing the whatever it was, 20th anniversary or something, and they were re-releasing it in theaters and this remastered or whatever. And she went. That was like the second time I saw the movie outside of obviously I'd seen the production in my school. And yeah, it was a lot of fun seeing it in a packed audience full of people that knew every line, every song. It was awesome. Catchy songs, yeah. Which one?
Patrick's.
Took a girl to rent as a date in high school. Now I do research of things before I dive into them. There you go. Smart. Hey, you learn those lessons, right?
Yep.
Talking about the ex and he's still alive. Yeah, hey, what are you gonna do? It was high school, man. High school. That wasn't a real ex. Let's see. Here we go.
Don't worry. Our wives don't watch our shows anyways.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They watch zero of our content unless they're
in it, and mine's never in it. So, all right, let's keep going here. Now, I will say, if this had not made our list, I think I would have been grounds for divorce in my house because this is my wife's favorite musical, and I've seen this more than any movie on our list. We watch this. I mean, whenever my wife's homesick, this is the movie she watches. This is like her addiction. Of course, we love Baz Luhrmann in our house in general, but this is her masterpiece. She just thinks it's his greatest movie, and she's got a huge Ewan McGregor crush as well. I find this movie to be hilarious and wildly over the top, but also just a real fun use of pop music into a movie. I really do enjoy this. I
do too, and you already see it in the chat. I feel like this is one of those musicals, though. You either love it or you hate it.
Oh, absolutely!
It is the most divisive, I think, of all the musicals we put on our list.
Yeah.
From that aspect, because the insanity of the musical in and of itself isn't bonkers. The storyline, going through it, just the character, John Leguizamo's character, you're like, what's going on sometimes?
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I remember as I was exposing my wife to musicals, I was like, this is one that we should watch. I'm like, like Lady Marmalade, like you said, the pop culture, the love pop culture song is one of my favorite songs, where they just combined all the different popular love songs throughout time.
Yeah.
And she watched it. She's like, this is weird. And I'm like, you don't like this, dude. She's like, it's weird.
So I will say that if you can survive the opening 10 minutes of this movie, which is basically like a roller coaster of songs and mashup and all these things, the movie settles down after that and you get into the plot. And I think it's a lot more substantive. But yeah, so we're in France in the turn of the century, I want to say. And we have a love story between a poor writer and a prostitute, and played by Nicole Kidman, and Ewan McGregor is the writer. And she's trying to make enough money to stay alive, and he's trying to make enough money to stay alive. And the linchpin for both of them is this sort of rich man who wants to own her and is willing to fund our hero's musical. And they mash up a ton of pop culture songs. There's no original songs in this. It's all mashups of great classic songs that they use, was it Roxanne by the Police, You mentioned there's a whole like love song mashup at one point where they mix a ton of songs together.
Beatles, they make like just everything. And my biggest frustration with this soundtrack though is, man, they do not have the audio on that soundtrack synced right, because it's just like the movies up and down, the audio listening to it, I'm like turning it up, turning it down in my car. I'm like, get it right. Like, this is 2021.
So you're talking about the mix.
Yeah.
That's always frustrating when the mix isn't done right. So yeah, for my wife, this is the one. Hey, what's up, brother? Now, Comics for Cheap did his first official StreamYard live stream earlier tonight, and definitely worth checking out. Absolutely. I've only watched the first like 20 minutes and then jumped on here, so I'm going to be finishing that up here in a little bit. You have me worried that Les Miserables is on your list. Not to worry, but we're going to keep rolling.
Yeah. And no, Patrick, I have no shame that I introduced my wife to Lady Marmalade. So,
No. Some of us have those crosses to bear.
You gotta do
my daughter's West Side Story, and they both are upset with me over it because they didn't realize, I said, oh yeah, it's based on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, but obviously they had no reference point for that because they hadn't seen that either. So they had no idea how heavy the ending was going to be. And they are not happy about how it ended. But I will also say it is iconic for many, many great reasons. It is a powerful story looking at race and culture war, and the music is phenomenal. The dancers are top notch. It's just everything you want from a big Hollywood musical. There's just no other words for that.
Yep. This is another one that I know I've seen before, but I sat down and watched a rewatch. And holy cow. I said the other ones that had so many songs that you're like, wow, I feel like I've heard this. But I mean, sheesh, I Feel Pretty is in Anger Management with Adam Sandler, and like that's an iconic scene from that movie where they're just stopped in the middle of traffic singing I Feel Pretty. And so many other songs that you're like, oh yeah, this was it too. And I mean, of all the movies too, I thought Singing in the Rain was going to have more Oscars because I always like to throw out these awards. I don't think if you guys have even noticed this, but like it won 10 Oscars, not nominated. It won 10 Oscars. So it went 10 for 11 out of its Oscar nominations. I assume that's a musical record, but it's up there as one of the most wins by, I think the most is like 13 by a movie. But
yeah, I know Ben-Hur was way up there when it won 11 or 12 or something. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most lauded, if not the most lauded musical ever made. And I think not only because obviously you have a great root in Shakespeare tragedy, but the idea of using the melting pot and big cities and the race territory issues that came up with young kids and all of that as the like flavor that they layered into this. And then again, I feel like the people writing the songs and doing the choreography were just on another level. They were really doing something special here, and it's just so catchy.
Yeah, and I think like what's so crazy is, like I said, I was rewatching it yesterday or a couple of days ago, and it literally was 60 years ago, and it's still prevalent in today's society of a storyline about, when we're talking about race and you're talking about the cultures clashing here. Like, I'm like, holy cow, thank you. It's such, and that's why it's like, I think that's why it also stands the test of time too. It's dated obviously because of its thing, but the story isn't dated from that aspect. Like, it's a story that has been told. And like you said, it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, aspect. And Sir Crump you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Maria is just an all-time classic. And then in America, that whole dance sequence on the roof is is probably my favorite part of the movie. I think the way they bring in Latin dance, and then the way they're bringing in, the discussions of an immigrant's story and what that means, and how, two immigrants from the same country could have completely different perspectives on the place they came from and the place they arrived. And that debate is beautifully captured.
Yep. And you mentioned the song In America, is kind of like this trying to figure out, and like rewatching, I don't know if I had picked it up before, like at the end when they're struggling with Maria's character, like that song is in the background. The music of that song is this kind of idea of the struggle. It's taking that song and putting it still in the struggle of, this is a struggle in America still, at least as that's how I interpreted it, in the midst of when she's fighting with the guys. And I thought that's such a brilliant move. Yeah. And again, we're talking about a movie 60 years ago, like that, still prevalent, and I think was really well done.
Absolutely. And TJ's mentioning that Spielberg has already done shooting his remake of this. And why, I don't know. But obviously, clearly, Greg and I feel pretty strongly that this not only holds up, but that it has almost as much relevance and resonance as it did then.
Mm-hmm. So I will be curious to see what it would be of a, because the story would still be the same, but the modern day modernization of it, I'd be interested to see what it is. I still won't probably like it more than this, but I'm not against it.
Lord Roscoe brings up the moment in The Mask when he sings Cuban Pete. Is that a musical? And one of our favorite things to do when we discuss a topic for a given month on this show is to end the whole thing off with an is it a category. So we will have a whole bunch of movies that are, I don't know, are they musicals?
Yes. And Coach Vic is mentioning In the Heights. I'm so bummed that wasn't. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a Warner Brother, right? So that's on the HBO coming up this year, right?
Yeah, I think it's not there yet, but I think it is coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be this year at some point. It'll be coming this year with their release it on HBO Max and in theater at the same time.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Coach Vic knows his Lin-Manuel.
As he should.
All right,
fantastic.
Let's keep trucking on here. And we got a movie that it almost could have fallen into the is it a musical category. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So, you remember when I said I was watching Grease and I shut it off to rewatch a movie that I watched earlier this week?
Yep.
This is it. Y'all, if you have not seen
South Park Musical is a great
if y'all haven't seen once, I think, you could say, is it a musical? I would say it clearly is a musical compared to the ones that we're going to throw in the is it a musical category. For a movie that has no stars, that has it's low budget, but man, oh man, the soundtrack is phenomenal. And if you've not seen once, guarantee you've heard Falling Slowly as it's been remixed, remade. It's been on every singing competition. I think Josh Groban's redone it. Like, everyone's done this song.
It's beautiful.
And it's so stinking good. And if I knew we wouldn't get YouTube violations, I would just sit here and play it.
Absolutely. We would be shut down instantly, and it would almost be worth it. Ohana says, sorry, never heard of this one. You don't need to be sorry. That's part of what we love doing this show is coming up with a few that were like a little under the radar, out of people's wheelhouse. So the story of this one centers around a young man who plays music on the streets of, is he in London? I can't remember.
I think it's in Ireland.
Okay, because he's going to go to Dublin at the end of
his ex-wife is in London. He's going to London.
So he plays music on the street. He's got his own original songs that he writes, and he meets this young lady who is an immigrant to the UK, and they strike up a bit of a friendship, slight romance, even though she seems to be hiding some relationship things from him, and he's got a heartbreak he's dealing with. And in the end, their musical interests align, and he tells her about an album he's trying to create, asks for her help, and the majority of the movie is centered around writing and then producing this album. And the overnight experience of writing the music is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, Z Collects. Play the song or give us the name. It's called Falling Slowly. It's right there in this. It says
it's the one that they won an Oscar for.
They won an Oscar for Falling Slowly. I'm not going to play it for you, though. Sorry, brother. But thank you for the super chat, Z. You are awesome, man. YouTube will shut them down, man. YouTube, that's they got to make their money, you know.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. When you picked this, I was like, yes, because it's a beautiful, simple little film. It's not like a love story in a classic way. It's really just about the power of music and what it can mean to people. And this simple little relationship between the two of them is perfectly captured.
Yeah, and it is. It doesn't fall into the trope of like a romantic love story. I think that you get. I think it fits into this. Just they feel like real people, and
Totally.
And because again, you've never heard of these people. A lot of you haven't seen the movie, and that is one of the things we talk about why we do like to do this show a lot too, like you said, because if someone's like, oh, I'll watch this because of it, and especially it's on HBO Max. I know all you guys got your subscription so you can see Wonder Woman. So
you're probably too lazy to have canceled it yet, so just roll over. I will say too that Glenn Hansard and Marketa Erglova, have continued to like play this song and other songs together and travel as a duo. And then this movie became a musical on Broadway that I believe is still running right now.
Yep. So this is one of those few movies that was a movie first that then they took it to a musical. Another one that I still want you to watch at some point is Sing Street, which I told you about. That's another one that was a movie first. That is now a musical, and it was about to drop on Broadway right when COVID hit. So I know the people that were in the cast of Sing Street, they were doing like, Zoom musicals and stuff. So I think that's a cool thing too, is like, this is the epitome of a movie musical because it started as a movie first and then became a musical.
So it's definitely worth your time if you like a smaller indie film. I think I think you'll really enjoy it, and it's got, I want to say, like 7-8 great songs in it, and I like all the songs, and written by the actors in the movie. They picked people that could play music really well, and then wrote a story that kind of like was comfortable and fluid with the two of them, and it shows because it's all just very natural. And
I mean that movie poster of them walking on the guitar as a street, like, come on, gang. Like, that's
dope.
Sweet.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's keep us moving here. We got so this is the movie that I think you love more than me. And I will say I don't dislike it. I definitely really enjoyed it. But I know that it's on another level for you.
It is. And I get it. I feel like it's another one out there. That I feel like this one you either love or you're like, it's fine.
And that's I'm in the it's fine category probably.
I don't think it's like a hate as like for some, but I think it's a lot of like you either love it or it's okay. Like you're seeing some of the comments. I don't know why. This was one that I saw. This was my first exposure to Rent, was this movie. And it came out in 2005. So in between the summer of my junior and senior year of college, I watched this movie and I listened to the soundtrack all the time when I was working, doing landscaping all summer long. Like this was the soundtrack to that summer for me. And I love the story. I love the songs. This is one that I can probably sing most of the words to of all of it. I know I'm young. Tag Nabbit, Coach Vic, I'm young. But it, and I also like this when it, another aspect that I appreciated once I started to follow into the Rent lore more of, I think besides Rosario, everyone in this movie was the original Broadway cast, which I thought was cool to see that aspect of.
Well, I think Taye Diggs might have been a change too.
I
didn't think he was originally in the Broadway cast, but I might be wrong. My dad is here, by the way, and he's saying that one of his former students from his high school where he was a principal was in the closing Broadway cast from when Rent finished out.
And see, I like that too. I have the movie version of that where they taped the last Broadway one. So someone in the chat, let me know if Taye Diggs was in the. I feel like he was. I thought
maybe I'm
wrong. But. So I can heap praises on it forever. So I'll let you heap your okayness on it.
I mean, the songs are strong. Some of them really, really strong.
Yeah.
And the themes are powerful. I think Idina Menzel is always great in everything. If you don't know who that is, she's Elsa, the voice of Elsa from Frozen, and she's been in a ton of things. She's incredibly talented, and she has got a great part here. She's awesome. I think some of the actors really work for me. Some of them work less for me. And I don't know that Christopher Columbus was the guy to direct this. I just think some of his stuff comes off really flat.
Okay.
And now, I've never seen a production of this, and I was really bummed I didn't get to see Neil Patrick Harris when he was doing this in LA. It's still a big regret because I had a couple of friends that went, and I just didn't want to. I just couldn't be bothered, I guess. And I was really sorry to hear that it was so phenomenal and I had missed out. So I do enjoy it. And of course, was 525,600 minutes The Seasons of Love is an amazing song. It is an absolutely iconic song. And it just, but it also outshines for me all the other songs in the production for me. Like everything else just feels like it comes up way short of what is the genius in that song.
And that song is so brilliantly written. Like, it's like 5,000, the minutes of, and then like they say that line, but it's a shorter, lesser amount of minutes, which is talking about that aren't so dear as basically saying like, you're going to have your minutes aren't all going to be perfect, but it's kind of what you make the most of. And I think this is just one of those stories of, making the most of your situation where you're at and, living in the moment because you never know what to expect and where to meet. And I mean, that's so sad that, it was sad to hear I'm blanking on his name now. But I know this musical was so near and dear to his heart because of everything he was going through with his personal life, which is, why he passed away and stuff.
I did not know that.
I knew my boy Vic would have my back.
He's got you.
But the characters are great. My biggest knock is I always felt bad for Anthony Rapp's character who plays Mark, because I always feel like Mark gets a short straw in this musical.
He doesn't get enough to do. Yeah.
Well, and I like everyone else, like they have someone.
And like everyone else has something or someone mostly, and I feel like Mark's just like, I have my work.
Yeah.
I always felt bad for Mark.
I don't know if Vic is saying that Jonathan Larson
that's who wrote it.
Was the guy who wrote it. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. He wrote the musical.
So yeah, I mean it's a great story, and I think they do a great job of looking at things like the AIDS epidemic and looking at poverty and the slumlord issues in big cities. And I think they point out a lot of really powerful social challenges. So that's the best stuff for me is giving voices to things that kind of got overlooked. And clearly the writer, that was a big part of what he felt like was being unheard, especially on the stage. A lot of times, I think the stage wants everything to be beautiful and happy. And I think sometimes a musical like this is what you need. Les Miserables is another example of something that's just like, it's not an uplifting piece, but it is important socially,
And freaking Elsa's in it, gang.
I'm saying. She doesn't let it go, though.
She doesn't.
All right, let's keep rocking here. Come on, man. Come on. Suddenly Seymour. I thought when we made our list at the very beginning, I was like, this is on my list. I think I really love it, but it's been a while.
Right.
On rewatch, I realized how much more I mean, this moved way up my list on a rewatch for several reasons. Obviously, I like how ballsy this story is. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous. The whole concept is ridiculous. The execution is ridiculous. Steve Martin is ridiculous as the dentist. The whole thing is just off the wall, and yet it all works. So even the lead actress, Ellen Green, her performance is ridiculous. That voice is so ridiculous, but it's so spot on. Everything works, and it shouldn't. Like, there's no reason this should work.
Her voice reminds me of the lead in Singing in the Rain's voice. Where
Oh my God, right? Absolutely.
And I'd even put on you got cameos by John Candy. You've got cameos by Bill Murray, who's obsessed with the pain.
Bill Murray is so perfect.
Again, everything you've said. So my first exposure to this film was my sister's college. They did this as a production. And
did they?
To see what they did with the plant.
Yeah.
Like, that was really cool to see. And then I found out it was a musical. I found out it was starring the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right.
And Lil Johnson's like, oh, Rick Moranis is in it? Cool. I gotta go watch this now. This is one though too. The soundtrack is really stinking good. And they're not your token songs. I think that you hear but it is something that you can put in and you're like, yep.
The three ladies who do the chorus, I know Tisha Campbell's one of them, but like they are so great. And my daughters were obsessed with those three ladies because every time they come in, they're in another phenomenal set of dresses. And my girls were like wardrobe points. Like, they loved the wardrobe for the three ladies. Yeah, I do know like a lot of high school productions. Yeah, Jack Nicholson was in the chair in the Roger Corman version.
And I knew that, and I had to double check when we were doing this on the list. I go, wait, this is the version I'm thinking of? Is John thinking of the Jack Nicholson? I didn't realize
that one's not a musical, actually.
Not.
That one's just a straight Roger Corman drama or comedy or whatever you want to call it. But I know several high schools that put this show on, and the amount of money you have to rent the plant. There are people that, like theater companies, that store the puppet in different sizes, and you rent it for the duration of your performance. And I know my high school never did it because I think the cost of that is so extreme.
Yeah, it's but again, it just everything like shouldn't work.
No.
And Rick Moranis does a great job in it as the lead, and the songs, I keep going back to them. Like, I didn't even realize it was nominated for an Oscar, and that would not have been the song I would have picked. No,
I wouldn't I mean, honestly, I'm addicted to Suddenly Seymour. I think it's just an absolutely classic song. And after watching the movie, I had my daughters watch it with me, and the only thing that bugged them was they're like, is he really going to chop up that guy? Like, they were like, what are you showing me right now? He is chopping up a guy. And yet at the same time, they loved the whole thing. They were able to laugh at the ridiculousness of it all. And afterwards, we went through YouTube to find celebrities singing Suddenly Seymour. We found two road karaoke, like driving karaoke. The best one was, I think it was Ariana Grande, and it was what's his name, the Family Guy Ted voice actor.
Seth. Seth.
Sorry, but you know who I'm talking about.
MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane, yeah. So he was singing with her, and they almost get in a car accident because they're so into the song. He has to like jam on the brakes at one point, and it was easily the best version of that song I've ever heard. The two of them, but then they also had a version, like a stage reading with a band and it was Ellen Green, the actors from this movie, and it was Jake Gyllenhaal, and they're amazing too. Like, it is phenomenal. So that song, I could listen to a million versions of that song. So great.
Yeah, I like Skid Row, like that opener.
Down on Skid Row, yeah.
And because again, I think it's the same. The chorus girl, like whenever they show up, I'm like, yup, like it just is. It's great.
So good. And the guy who does the voice of the plant, for me, is just top notch. That voice is "Feed me, Seymour." Like, he is so good. He reminds me a lot of the Oogie Boogie Man in
yes,
Nightmare Before Christmas. That same kind of like over the top performance that's just so good. So amazing. So yeah, big fan. Wow, guys, come on. What's the problem? What did I do?
I think it was because we were forgetting McFarlane's name.
McFarlane's name. Yeah. Sorry. I froze.
Sorry.
That's the problem with this show is when we get to the end of the show, we've had enough to drink that we don't necessarily remember the names as well.
No, that was just a brain fart from mine.
So in the end, if I had to pick only one movie that I would rewatch again, like tonight, it's this one. That was just where I came out on the end for me.
Yeah.
Rewatchability wise.
It is. It's great. I will watch once, and I'll probably make my wife watch it with me finally because I've watched it twice without her.
Oh man, so good. All right, let's keep rolling on here. We got. Oh man. So before the show tonight, I sat with Kate and my wife, and we watched this because I've got the DVD of Dr. Horrible Sing Along Blog, and man, there are some just top flight songs in this movie.
So good.
So hilarious.
And we had to put this on because A is great, and B, it's for our
comic book guys. And this is our last one, right?
This is the last one. So for those of you hoping for some Sound of Music, sorry about that. We got
or Les Mis.
No Les Mis, no Sound of Music. We went with Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog to finish this sucker out.
That's right. Because Neil freaking Patrick Harris, Nathan Fillion, like Felicia Day.
I could geek on Nathan Fillion all night. Like, Captain Hammer is phenomenal, and these ain't the hammer. No Fiddler on the Roof. I'm very sorry, Patrick. Yeah, this movie is hilarious. I absolutely adore it, and even though I think it's broken into three parts. Those that don't know how this went down during the writers' strike of 2007, the crew and whatever of Buffy and Angel could not shoot. And so a bunch of people were out of work. And so Joss Whedon wrote something to be produced for the internet where the writer's strike rules didn't apply. And they've shot it in three parts and basically dropped it in acts. And it was hugely popular and hilarious. And it included a lot of the actors and crew from the Buffy and Angel and friends of Joss. So obviously,
like Josh's his brother's in it.
Yeah. So it's basically a musical about a villain, a supervillain, trying to reach to join the evil League of Evil, and his nemesis is the superhero Captain Hammer, played by Nathan Fillion, and they both are vying for the affections of the same girl.
And the songs are really stinking good. If you haven't, this one's hard to find. I don't know if you can find it online, but it's not streaming. I think I originally bought it
buy the DVD. I'm just going to straight tell you, if you've never heard of this, never seen this, but you like,
I think you have to just,
if you like Buffy, if you like Angel, if you like Firefly, you're going to like this. Just buy it and you will laugh your butt off. It's not terribly long. That's the only drawback. It's like 45 minutes or so.
If that, yeah.
But it's amazing. And I laugh every time. And there are some incredibly moving songs as well, right? There's just some really great work happening here.
Yeah, and again, it's you have the comedy of it, of because Nathan Fillion's character, he plays a superhero, but he is definitely the villain of the musical. Where you have the villain of Neil Patrick Harris's, he's the hero that you root for, and you feel for, like, and there's a lot of songs, there's a lot of moving pieces in it for such a short show. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I've seen the chat, people like you said, Firefly, and Neil Patrick for me with How I Met Your Mother. Like, I mean, these are two, like, some of my favorite. Like,
well, and yeah, I mean, these are top-notch actors in the top 3 roles, and they're all really, really great. And I think Joss Whedon was at the top of his game. I mean, he really wrote something funny. Like, the dialogue is funny, the concept is funny. I love the use of Bad Horse, the evil villain, and his horrible
Bad Horse,
that terrible Winnie. It's so good. And
his best friend is what's his, like, Moist Man? Or something?
He's Moist. Yeah, his name is Moist. And all he does is make things wet. I love when he's holding the bags of money and they're robbing the bank and he keeps dropping one. He's like trying to grab it. There's a lot of great physical comedy stuff here. TJ says this and the Buffy musical episode are amazing. So he knows what's up.
Yep.
Several people talking about musicals we didn't mention. Dreamgirls, great one. Fiddler, which I'm not as big a fan. I'm sorry. The Greatest Showman was on the short list, didn't make the cut. I'm very sorry about that.
It could, though, possibly maybe sneak in for family.
I got one more show where we're going to bring up some family related stuff for sure.
Who knows? Because it definitely could be up there. So what was the other I was going to say?
White Christmas, Holiday Inn, the producer.
Dreamgirls, would you put Dreamgirls as a music biop, though?
It's yeah. Is it a musical biopic? Is it a musical for me? But it's a great one. It's a great one.
And that's where we kind of got, like, we had to narrow it down, because I mean, we could have put Walk the Line. We could have put so many of those, Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, all of these, like, because that's a new thing. And we wanted to really focus in, at least, especially for this episode, on some of our favorite movie musicals. Now, we started with Hamilton, which broke the rule, and we ended with Dr. Horrible, which technically broke the rule too.
A little bit.
More of it was a TV internet movie, but I've always said, man, if they ever made a production of this, I'd go see it.
I'm still waiting for them to get around to a sequel, because I want a sequel. I legit would watch the follow-up of this.
I want a TV show in this world, like a Flight of the Conchords TV show, like where you have the musical aspects of it into a TV show. Because if you bring back those characters,
I would be down for that. I just think that the challenge is, writing that many good songs every single year. I can't imagine having to. I mean, obviously the Flight of the Conchord guys could do it,
right?
But even they had songs that I was like, I didn't like that one as much. Like to be on this level, is pretty challenging. Simon R., I watched My Fair Lady again this week, and damn, that movie's long. Oh my God. That's like, it was painful to get through. Now there's some great sequences, but man, that movie, I struggled with that. I liked Guys and Dolls a lot better, and I have never seen Seven Brides. I've never found a chance to see that.
I've seen the production of it but I haven't seen, another one. Is
Blues Brothers a musical? Because I think probably it is, but it's right on the line there.
And I personally love that there are so many people throwing out movies in here,
right?
Musicals, and we've had our study of our view with this, because it's fantastic. Musicals
wasn't Patrick the guy at the beginning saying he hates musicals, or was that Oregon?
Oh, it was Patrick. But
now he's just rolling through like a ton of musicals.
Mm-hmm.
76 trombones.
It starts with T.
So let me double check that we have finished off our list here. Yes, we have. We are all DONE. Thank you to Bearded for making the slideshow. Huge shout out to you for that, man. I appreciate that.
Because you're a pinball wizard.
Right? Tommy. So we will be back in 2 weeks for part 2 of our musicals discussion. We're going to split the final show into a discussion of sort of family-friendly musicals and then movies that we're not sure. Would you qualify them as a musical? This is always the place where we dump all our hot takes.
And I can't wait because I feel like we always have some that are like good ones. And
Right.
I always feel like we have our like, that's a hot take. And I'm just going to say, like, I'm not going to put South Pacific in my list. So don't worry.
No, that's not. It doesn't stand a chance, and it's not family friendly or is it a musical? Because it is straight up a musical.
And if it didn't make the list tonight, it ain't making the list. So no worries.
Yeah, exactly. You're good, Ohana. You're good.
So
My mom likes it. I'm not a fan. But I know I'm still the guy that says Ace Ventura is a sports movie. So you can count on me for some hot takes in 2 weeks.
I know. I always bring that up because it just is so good. So you were trying to defend it. Oh,
I'm still willing to defend it. It doesn't make any sense. It's totally absurd, but that's the whole point of that category is to be a little bit more on the fringe. I just fell off the table pretty hard. So if you guys don't know the Bearded Comic Bro, I put the link to his channel in the little description box under this video. So you can click and go to Greg's channel. He drops a ton of content, interviews. He does quiz shows with his wife. He does reviews, and he's just all across comic book entertainment YouTube. So you're missing out if you haven't seen it. Every Friday, he does his Name That Character show with his wife that my daughter, Charlie, and I watch on our way home from school every single week. It is the highlight of her week. She's always looking forward to what's the new one? What are they going to do? And this last week was straight up my alley. Charlie was like struggling with it because she doesn't know the books as well. But it was awesome. So it was, can you name the character based solely on the issue number of a comic? Can you tell us who that first appearance belongs to? And this was very entertaining. And your wife brought a deeper comedic sort of punishment-like layer to this. So if you haven't checked it out, I'm just going to pimp it for Greg so he doesn't have to. It is definitely worth your time.
And what's so funny is I literally, as we're doing that episode, I go, I hope Charlie still finds this funny. Because I was like, I don't know if she's going to know these. I literally was wishing this. I was like, I hope my biggest fan of this show thinks it's good.
Lord Roscoe is there too. I know we were all just laughing. I think you were all the way through it going, nobody's going to like this. And I think you totally underestimate your audience who are like, yes, we want more of this.
People are like, you guys should do like a hot jalapeno challenge.
Yeah, they want you to torture each other for getting wrong answers now. You've opened a door.
She doesn't understand what she did. She opened up Pandora's box, and
absolutely,
I don't think they're shutting it.
No. I will say, though, I'm very excited for someone to try out Charlie's theory of the emojis because I was like, how does nobody ever come up with that before? That's a great idea.
It's a great idea, and I guarantee you it will at some point.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you don't.
I don't know how you don't do it. So,
yeah. It's like perfect for your show. Absolutely. I'm like, Charlie's clearly watching this with eagle eyes. She's ready.
I know.
So if you're looking for stuff on my channel, obviously last night I had the epic unboxing that went really slow. People are watching it on double speed because they're like, John, you need to open books a little faster. But the truth is, I only do this stuff once a year. So I'm gonna draw that sucker out for every second of paid YouTube I can get. I have my edited video drop Thursday as far as what's next week on my pull list. What are the good books to pick up? Next week's a big week. I got a ton of stuff on my pull list next week. I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons on Sunday night with Alec Whitewell Comics, and then I'm doing an auction on Monday. It's a holiday, so I'm off, and I've got a ton of books that I need to get rid of. I'm pretty much doing dollar, buy it now.
Holiday.
Clear it off. Yeah. It's Martin Luther King Jr., and I'm just selling it all. I'm celebrating by giving you insane deals and just getting rid of all my books. I need to clear a ton of space, and then I will ship all week next week and get books out to people My plan is to do another sale some point in the middle of February as well, if I don't get through everything here. But I need space in my house. So
I was so excited for this, but you don't buy DC books, so
I've got a ton of Batman stuff. What are you talking about? I got 3 Batman short boxes here, brother.
All right, good.
So I got a bunch of Batman stuff. I got a bunch of Daredevil stuff, and I got some X-Men stuff, and then a bunch of indies. I got a ton of indies.
So the sale is Monday.
It's
The
Monday.
Batman sale is in a private StreamYard with me on
Right.
Sunday.
Right. Sweet John, can you sell my books? You wanted me to sell your books too, Patrick? You're going to drop them off here? I'll DM you for pre-sale prices. I will have some She-Hulk, sensational She-Hulk. So issues, I think 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the sensational She-Hulk run. So which is, in my opinion, the best run. But I don't have room for all of them. I'm keeping issue 1, and then I'm just like, the rest can all go.
I think TJ's right.
I love me some Jenny Frison. Absolutely. John, I'm not selling this house, so everything's got to fit here. TJ, it's got to fit.
Add on. Put a second or third. I don't know how many you have. Just add another layer on top.
I'm gonna dig a bunker, a fallout bunker, and just put everything in it. So thank you, everybody. I hope to see some of you on Monday, and I hope a bunch of you sign up for Bearded's channel and subscribe. Hit that notification. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye.